Good day and welcome to a brief overview of Caddy 25 Professional with specific reference to the architectural functionality. The purpose of this video is to demonstrate the ease of use as well as the powerful features and benefits of Caddy, and not so much a training tutorial. Please take note of the following. Although I'm using a custom template which is not shipped standard with the current release, I will gladly send it to you on request. Just pop me an email to the address stipulated now. I've also customized and automated some of Caddy's great functionality to suit the way that I work. If you try this, for example, on a trial version, and Caddy does not seem to respond in the same fashion, it does not mean that you're doing something wrong or that there is a problem with your Caddy installation. All this means is that you have to make the same changes on your workstation. Again, I will gladly assist you on your request in order to get the same settings on your workstation to what I'm using during this video. Let's jump right in. Allow me to touch on a few technical pointers about Caddy. Firstly, the layout. When Caddy starts up, it will typically look like this, but do not get overwhelmed with all the functionality placed around my screen. As mentioned earlier, this is the way that I find it most rewarding to work with. The main commands are based on the top and the left hand side and can be copied and moved around. You will also see that the toolbars which consist of commands at the top. Some of them are included in the standard installation, but I have also created a customized toolbar here. Customizing is also very simple, and because Caddy is Windows compliant, the modification of these commands are very similar to the likings of Word and Excel. For example, under annotation, I have some dimension commands that I've moved to the toolbar that I've created at the top. On the very far left hand side is the applications menu, and right next to it is the commands menu. On the right hand side I have docked my object properties window as well as my levels and saved views. On the bottom is the command line. This is very important as Caddy will prompt the user here for input. So whenever the user does not know what to do, just glance down here for clues. The black background means that I'm on the model space, and referring to the bottom of the screen, the model tab has the focus confirming this. When I click on the A1 Layout tab, Caddy displays my first sheet or paper space. Again, this has been changed from the standard installation, which will display two sheets, namely Sheet 1 and Sheet 2. I can create or set up as many sheets as I need, all with their own properties, for example sizes, notations, logos, etc. The user can also create a title sheet template that will consist of all the different sheets required. The user can then insert them into the drawing as required. This saves size of the template, and obviously the bigger the file to be loaded, the longer it will take, especially on older computers, etc. When I click on the A4 detail, you will notice that the new sheet is set to an A4 sheet size. You can customize your title sheets with all your notes and even logos according to your company profile. Although you can print from the model space, I will print from my sheets. I will click on the A1 sheet, and when I hit the print icon, you will notice that I've already set up my sheet to be printed to PDF format using the PDF 995 driver, but more about printing a bit later. When I right click, I get the context sensitive menu, and this is most helpful as it will populate functions depending on the selected object or objects. For example, look at the functionality available with nothing selected. I will click on this line to select it, and when I right click, the context sensitive menu has changed with new functions, for instance copy, move, etc. If I select for instance the text and I right click now, you'll see the context sensitive menu has been new functionality with text commands added. Really simple but very effective. Clicking on the model space tab, Caddy takes me back to the model space, and remember, we work in a scale of 1:1, but Caddy will control that scale when we place our objects on our sheet, as you will see this shortly. I want to draw the following structure as the example. We are facing our first challenge here in the sense that if I draw two parallel lines, like that, not even I will be able to guess the size, whether it's a double wall, a double road, or even bigger. I can measure it, however, and if I measure there, I can accurately determine the length of it. But that's not ideally how we want to work. What if Caddy offers some form of spatial reference, like a border or something? Well, it does, and this is how we would do it. I will right click on the Model Space tab and I will select Model Space Workspace Setup. Here I want to switch on the border, so when I select that, Caddy will prompt me that although I work in a scale 1 in 1, this is just the viewing scale that will change. I will select OK to accept. I prefer an A1 1 in 100 and that's what it's set to at the moment. Please take note, the base units are set to millimeters and that is important, that's what I want. I will select OK to continue. When I zoom out, you will notice the border which represents an A1 at 1 in 100. Now it is much easier to judge the size. I will delete the rectangle and then we can start drawing. You will also notice the information around the border edges. This is actually just to eliminate the idea that you are bound to work within the border only, but you can draw anywhere in the model space, as we will create links or called viewports in Caddy to be placed on the sheet at a specific scale and position. Caddy allows the freedom for different approaches or methodologies during the drawing process. For example, you can use construction lines, or you can use polar tracking, or even the arrows on your keyboard to draw your walls. Each has their own advantages depending on the situation. The active layer setting is situated in the top left hand corner. Caddy, however, allows for levels that will handle the layer management automatically, but I will get into more detail regarding levels in another video. For now, I will select the desired layer, namely layer 3, site information. I'm going to draw the outline of my structure on this layer, not only for the footprint alone, but I can also use this for the outline for the roof design, as you will see later. I also have the advantage to get the area for the footprint from my object properties window instantaneously. I will demonstrate the construction lines method. I will click on construction lines vertical horizontal and I will place it on my model space. I will offset 5 meter lines by clicking on construction lines parallel, but I've got a shortcut key mapped to the character P on my keyboard, so when I press P you will notice the dialog box appear. I will type 5000 as it represents 5 meters. Now take a look at the command line. Caddy is prompting the user to click on the correct side of the line for the offset. When I click on the vertical one, Caddy will offset that line. The same with the horizontal one. Depending on which side I click on it, Caddy will place those construction lines. In fact, the angle doesn't matter at all. Caddy will just pick up the line, calculate the angle and offset that with our distance. I will select polyline from my toolbar to draw the outline of the structure. I'll click on draw polyline and then I press X on my keyboard, which is mapped to my auto snap mode. I always start in the bottom left hand corner, but that's merely an old habit. You'll notice the yellow aperture point as soon as I get close to the intersection. As soon as you see the correct position, you just click and the Caddy will snap accurately to those points. When I zoom in by rolling the wheel button of the mouse forward, you can see I've drawn a polyline. Instead of retracing it with walls, I can just ask Caddy to do it for me by following the next few steps. I will select the line, I will right click, and from the context sensitive menu I will select convert to, and then the option convert to walls. Caddy brings up the wall style parameter dialog box. From here I will select the wall style, which is new wall. The wall height I want is 2720 and the width I want is 220. I will select OK, and you'll notice if I zoom in a bit closer, there I've got my walls drawn from that polyline. If you look at the active layer setting, it is set to layer 3 site information. But when I select the wall and browse in the object properties window, you will see it is actually residing on layer 14 wall's ground story and not layer 3 site information. The reason for this is that it is managed by the level wizard, which I will cover in a later video. I just want to stress the fact that in the past users avoided layering as it was complicated, especially when objects were placed on incorrect layers. The level wizard handles that perfectly and automatically. Let's insert a door. From the context toolbar, I will click on the insert door command. Here are the parameters that I can change according to my requirements. On the door parameters, I want the head height of 2.125, the height of 2.1 and the width of 1.511 millimeters. When I click on the Styles tab, I can open up the Save Presets, and using the keyboard arrow I can scroll down and look through at the different door types at my disposal. Let's select External 2 and I select Load. Just a matter of fact, if I go back to door parameters, you'll notice there's an option for origin. I've got an option between center or corner. This is the position that Caddy will place the door, either by the origin of center or corner. I want to use center as I want to insert this door in the center of a wall. I will click on OK. Now look in the bottom of the command line. Caddy says indicate the position for the outer face of the door. My snap is still set to auto snap. If not, I can just press X again, and when I hover the cursor over the wall, you'll notice that more or less in the center it picks up the midpoint. So when I select that, it places the door. But what happens if I want to get the swing to the opposite side? Very easy. Look at the command line again at the bottom. Caddy says click to update the hinge position. If I keep on clicking, you'll see how it will change the swing angle. I'm happy with that. I will right click, select option end, and I'm finished. Let's select option end, and I'm out of the door command. Now next, let's insert a window. From the context toolbar still, I will select insert a window. From the Windows parameters dialog box, I can manually override and select the height and width of a custom window, or I can select this under specific tab. Under the range, I'm going to select the PTT, which is the aluminium range, and from the model, there's all the catalog items that I can select. I will select the first one, P4TT, which is a 2.7 by 1.2. Again, you may change the insertion point of the origin of this window by selecting between either center or corner. I've got the head height of 2.1 meters and I'm happy with that. I will select OK to continue. Now look in the command line again. Caddy prompts and asks indicate the position for the outside face of the window. With my snap set to auto, when I hover closely to the midpoint of a wall, you'll notice it will pick up that point. When I click on it, it places it down. Let's do another one on this side, and when I click on that one, it places the second window. When I go right click option end and I select the window, notice under the object properties, the layer where it is residing on is layer 4 windows and doors ground story, even though my site information is the active layer. Again, the level wizard that handles that automatically. Now what about the roof? Some systems require users to complete a special course for drawing roofs. Let's insert the roof here and see how ridiculously simple this process is in Caddy. From the Applications menu, I will select Build, and then I will select Roof. Caddy displays the roof style dialog box where I can change the parameters. I will select a hip roof with a pitch angle of 26 degrees. Let's make the overhang 500 millimeters and the base height of 2720. If you're not sure about the height, you can always click on the calculate option, and there you can insert the values according to this little diagram, and Caddy will do the base height calculation. As I know what I want, I will just select cancel and remain with 2720. Now can you recall using the polyline for the outline of the walls? The profile Caddy wants is the outline of the structure. If I did not have this line, I would have to select either points or I would select auto detect. With points, I would run around the structure to define the area for the roof, which is duplication of the actions. Auto detect will try to calculate it, but you could run into potential problems depending on the order of the walls they were drawn or inserted. But because I do have the polyline for the outline, I will select polyline or circle and click on OK. In the command line, Caddy prompts to indicate the polyline or the circle. I will click in the proximity of the polyline, and there is our roof. No special training required. When zooming out, you will see the elevation labels on the right hand side. I've made the assumption that north is at the top of my structure. In the top left hand corner is a north arrow, and I will move and rescale at the same time to be placed on my site plan. To do this, I will select it, by dragging a box over it, right click, and from the context sensitive menu I will select Move. In the command line, Caddy prompts me to indicate the origin point that I want to pick it up from. When I click more or less into it, you'll notice that I've got the ghost image of the north arrow on my cursor. But I also mentioned I want to scale it, so I will right click again, and from the context sensitive menu I will select and scale, and I'm going to scale it twice the size. So I select 2, click on OK, and you'll notice it's twice the size of the original one. So now I can just drag it, and let's say I want to place it in this area here. At this point, I normally ask the user how long will it take them to create the 4 elevations from this relative simplistic structure. And I get various answers from an hour to half a day. So in Caddy, from my toolbar at the top, I've got an option here to create the elevations. So when I select them and just pan over, there are my 4 elevations already done. When I zoom closer, you will see the lines on the roof, and those are just hatched lines, which comes from my roof style. So if I click on my roof, and from the context toolbar, I'll just deselect the hatching, and you'll notice that the hatching on the roof has been taken away. Now if I click onto my A1 layout for my sheet, you'll see I've got the viewports already set up, and the elevations and the plan already on my sheet. These specific viewports have been placed there before, but I can move them around as I will demonstrate. Clicking on the viewport, I can select the grip points, and I can move the viewports to mask content so that they fit in where I want them to be placed. From the toolbar at the top, I will select to zoom all to see my whole sheet, and then I will select the print icon. As I mentioned earlier in the video, I was already set up for PDF 995 for an A1 sheet, and I will select preview, and there is my sheet that will be printed. If I now go and select the print option, it will ask me a file name, and it will create this PDF file. In the next video, I will continue with adding dimensions and inserting internal walls and doors. Hoping to see you then. If you have any comments, please feel free to send it through to me at vic@caddy.co.za. Happy drawing!